take any other teammate if you could?
Absolutely. I got stuck with this one.
We started in 2016 with local Kansas matches.
PRS style matches,
Yeah.
Precision Rifle Series.
Yes, so sort of field style, but moving on obstacles, shooting maybe 10 rounds in a couple of minutes at a few different targets. It's a lot of moving, a lot of impacts, a lot of rounds. It's a lot.
4 to 1,200 yard average, somewhere right in there typically is what those matches were. Spear Point hosted one of the first DLR matches in the country that we knew of, and we bought a Savage rifle from Cabela's 338 Lapua stock rifle, went out there, and I think it was 3rd place first
With
time
an Athlon.
Yeah, with an Athlon on it. Did well with that factory rifle for quite a while, actually. Won some matches with it, and then progressed into building bigger and custom rifles.
Bigger and bigger and bigger, as it happens.
Her first King of 2 Miles, we actually didn't apply. They reached out to us and said, hey, we got this list. You're the only one in the top 25 of this ranking list that hasn't applied. Do you want to come? And so, well, we don't have a big rifle at the time. So a buddy of ours, Derek Love, offered a rifle. We took it, went, and she made the finals first year at King of 2 Miles. So that was fun.
Yeah. We progressed over from PRS style to ELR, a couple of different reasons, mostly because of time. PRS is a lot of fun, but it's almost always 2-day matches. And with 2 kids now, we don't have time
Loading
to do that.
500 rounds
Yes.
between both of us.
Yes,
Takes
a lot
of
more
time.
rounds.
We actually
Yes.
shot a national PRS match this weekend. And
For the first time in years. ELR is, for us, easier to do because we have to load less rounds, like you said. And it's typically 1 or 2 days, so time commitment is significantly less when it comes to actually traveling to matches with family.
pick our time where we can, so.
Yes. We got into ELR mostly because someone spends his time on the internet a lot and found some people who were shooting far distances and thought that that would be a lot of fun. And then sort of going down that rabbit hole to see what that would take to do and what we already had or could buy for relatively cheap, like you said, the Savage that we had first. Just go out there and just shoot it, you know. Yeah, I think the total cost of that rifle was about $2,900.
Probably less than that. It was a $900
for the whole
rifle.
thing,
the
whole
scope.
setup.
Yeah.
And it did well. It did really well.
It's actually progressed in my King of 1 Mile rifle. Same Savage, but we put a barrel on it.
Yes.
And I was 5th at King of 1 Mile.
Yes.
With the Savage this year again, same rifle. So.
Yes. Yeah, I got it rebarreled with GA precision and kept the same Athlon on it.
Yep.
And he put it in a Manor stock because he likes to have all of his rifles matching. But it's the original Savage, and the scopes that we have are convenient because they are consistent enough. We know that even if we are transitioning from one rifle to another, we'll actually just take the spur mount off, move the whole scope over to another rifle, zero it real fast and go. So we use the same scopes for almost all of our rifles.
Yeah, so it has this mount on the front. That's pretty handy for the ELR rifle.
Yeah, we need it for ELR, but I shot with PRS. I just didn't have time to take it off, and why would we? It was already convenient. I just moved it over, left the mount on, and ran with it. It's consistent that we can just move it over, zero it real fast, and go, regardless if it's a couple hundred yards or 2.4 miles. It still works. When we first started shooting, it was very much an individual sport. You shoot, you watch your round, and you make corrections based on what you see. No one else behind you can say anything. And when you're done, all done, then they can say, oh, well, you were consistently left, right, whatever. But when you're shooting, it's on you, which is what we're used to doing.
In PRS, not ELR.
Yes. So we would shoot, and we'd watch and see where that round went. We measure the correction real fast in our scope, make that correction, center the round, impact. With the ELR setup, because it is so far and it is so difficult to see, and everyone still wants to hit far targets. We're all competitive with each other. We all still want to hit as far as we can possibly hit. So with ELR, that's why they're spotters, is because you may or may not see in your scope what's happening downrange. There's been many matches where it's been nice to have Shane as a spotter, but I saw everything. I didn't need it. There's been other ones where, holy cow, for whatever reason, I just didn't see anything. And he's like, well, I think I might have seen something over there. And this is about the correction, and I'd run that correction, and by golly, that'd be it. There has been matches where it's a different style setup, where you can have anyone looking behind you, anyone calling, as many spotters as you want, because we're just out there for fun, where there's been, I don't know, 15.
When we first started,
Yeah.
There's 10, 15 guys watching, trying to get everybody on at the far place.
Everyone's on tripods, everyone's got
So hard
squirrel
to see.
binos, and we were shooting, and my round went down range, and it was just quiet behind me. No one saw anything, but I happened to see in my scope something. And I was like, I don't know, but we'll try it. And sure enough, moved over, I think it was like 2.5 mils, set another round down range, bam, hit it. So that was what it was. I saw it, no one else did, but you never know. Everyone has a different pair of eyes. Everyone might blink at the wrong time. Sometimes it takes 10 seconds to get down range. Sometimes you shoot and you just wait. And you just hope, and you're like, it's been like 12 seconds. There's no way, it's down there, I just missed it. But someone else could see behind you, possibly. So it's really nice to have your spotters behind you so they can see what's going on and make that correction. There used to be a rule in ELR where you would have 2 spotters, with the idea being you had one shooter, their only job was to shoot. They did nothing else but pull that round and pull the trigger. One spotter would be watching for the impact or miss, and your other spotter would be calling wind. It sounds like an okay setup. You've got lots of brains doing different things, except we rolled into the ELR world seeing that, but coming from PRS where you have to watch your own shot and realizing you're missing out on another eye watching down range because the shooter wasn't looking through their own scope. They would just shoot and sit up and wait for their spotters to tell them what to do. And we came in with our Athlons and,
different mentality of shoot PRS is you're watching your own misses and you're making your own corrections.
And you have
reticle.
you have a reticle in your scope. You can shoot,
use it.
watch, use your reticle. You can see. Most of the time you can see something. So we came with that mentality of we have one spotter, one shooter, but same.
Oh, our first King of 1 Mile match, everybody rolled in with 3-man teams. We showed up as the only 2-man team, Jaclyn and I, there, and kind of proved that, hey, you work well as a team, you'll be fine with a 2-man team. And sure enough, next year they changed the rules and it was limited to a 2-person team at King of 1 Mile or King of 2 Miles. Showed, hey, 2 people working well together is plenty.
You get a good scope, you get a good spotter, you can both use your tools, and you can make rounds.
Communicate
you can make
well.
impact. Yes. Communication, yes, that's a huge thing too. So it is a very interesting dynamic that we have as a team, in the sense that we are both very stubborn, and when we're shooting, we communicate. I'll use the example of me shooting. I'll shoot, and I'll see a miss, and I'll know my correction because I see it in my scope. He'll call it a correction that I don't necessarily agree with, or maybe I'm being more conservative than he is when making the correction. We saw the same shot, we have the same measurements, but as far as being conservative or not in that wind call change, we vary a little bit when it comes to that. So sometimes he'll say a correction, and in my head, I'm not gonna do that. But I'll say it out loud.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna do this. Or
As long as we talk about it.
1.5, 1.2, okay. And we'll just roll it and see what happens. But at least we're communicating and knowing what the other is thinking. Even if we don't always agree, it still works out really well. And sometimes I'm right, and sometimes he's right. And we make it work. So in the end, it works out well that we can both on the same page. We don't get frustrated at each other. We know if we miss, it's not because we made a bad wind call. It just happens, and that's okay. You're not gonna hit every round, every time. It's a long way away. Even if you send the same hold 5 shots in a row, some days those will go 5
Yep,
different
nothing
locations.
you can
You can't do anything about that, no. Now that we have 2 kids who are very mobile, it's a lot more difficult to get on the road and to some of these matches. There are great people involved with the sport though. Right now, our kids are in studio just being babysat by people here at Athlon as they, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't hear any loud crashes, nothing's on fire. So I'm sure they're fine.
We're lucky enough to have both of our parents close. They help out when we go to the matches. Last weekend, my parents had them, her parents had them the weekend before, so we're very, very lucky there that we can drop them off for a weekend.
There's a lot of help in reloading too sometimes, which can get interesting. But for the most part, it is a very family-friendly sport when it comes to trying to make things work, being at a match, other kids, other parents around. Everyone just wants everyone to have a good time. And that's what makes this sport great, and that's why we keep doing it.
Couldn't ask for better people to have the kids around and exposed to either at the shooting matches. So.
Yes.
Absolutely. I got stuck with this one.
No. No, we make a great team. There are some times where it's interesting to get different perspectives on things, and we do help other people. Sometimes people show up without a spotter, and oh, I'm here, I'll just spot for you real fast. Or Shane's right there, he'll just spot. And it's nice to see a different dynamic sometimes to different people and teach them things, but also learn from them. You know, everyone is learning from everyone in this sport all the time. That's why we can go out to farther and farther distances really so quickly. In the last few years, it's gotten exponentially better as far as yes, as far as hits on target and farther. But everyone has a different style of doing things, and ours works for us.
Seems to work well.
yeah. But we definitely help out a lot of the matches. We're usually spotting for a lot of people as they just need help, or their spotter didn't show up, or whatever the case may be. They're not going to load up rounds and then just not show up because they couldn't have their teammate there. But in the end, I would have Shane as my spotter any day.
There's actually a new division they opened up this year, production division. I would recommend someone starting there, actually. Like, that's how we started. You can go to Cabela's, buy a off-the-shelf .338 rifle, and then go to the production division. For one, if you don't reload, you can buy ammo there. Eventually, reloading, especially for ELR, is a big thing. That can come over time, though. Show up. There's a rookie class now at Spear Point they did with the production division. So people are there to help you. They're going to show you how to spot, how to get all your dope, everything. Just show up. Things can be upgraded over time, so you don't have to spend the highest Athlon scope or any other companies. You can upgrade. So start with middle of the road stuff and work your way up.
You've heard of buy once, cry once, probably. That is true to a point, but it's not necessary. People think they need to dump $10,000, $15,000 into a rifle setup just to shoot, and you don't. You don't need to do that. If you can, fine. We're not dogging on that either, obviously. That's great. But people don't have to do that. You can spend a minimal amount of money comparative to some of these rifle setups and still have a very competitive rifle.
Learning, you're probably not going to win the match, obviously, but you're going to gain experience over time and then decide if you like it or not, and then you can spend some money into upgrading products and decide if it's what you want to do.
There's a lot of groups online too, Facebook groups specifically, that have a lot of information, but I would definitely say to take some information with a grain of salt. There are people out there with information that post online a lot and have never shot a match, or do shoot a match and have 0 hits. So you kind of want to take that information and just absorb everything and then pick and choose what you actually want to follow.
Jay started PRS or ELR Pro-Am matches this year also, so you can come out, shoot with a pro, Jaclyn and I, or some other pro as an amateur, and they're going to walk you through the whole process, spot for you, get you on target. I think that's great. That's a brand new thing this year. The Pro-Am matches are going to be huge, and Jay's doing those at his matches. It's going to be awesome for new shooters.
Yeah, so you don't have to have a pro in mind. You can just come in as an amateur, and they'll pair you up with somebody. So that's very helpful. Alternatively, if you have some local matches you want to try to hit up, I would say reach out to the match director and say, hey, I'm a new shooter. If you have anyone there who you think would be good, just get some feedback with, or even there who you think might be able to spot for me. And as long as we know ahead of time that
The
we're
rookie
doing
days,
that.
that's what guys are there for. You show up and they'll pair you up.
Yeah. Do I feel motivated to break my record? Sure. I actually didn't realize at the time of the shoot that last target was so close to the record. I knew it was really far, but I couldn't remember exactly how far the farthest shots were. So when I went up to the line, I wasn't thinking, oh, we're gonna break the record today, or oh, we're gonna be second, whatever the case may be. It was just, oh, it's really far, let's shoot it. Let's see what happens. So with the second to longest shot in competition history, that's a mouthful. I'd much rather just say we have the longest shot in competition history. But in the end, there are great people in the sport, and the people who sit ahead of us are good people. So while it is competitive, it's not so much so that we're not cheering them on as well.
We may not have a chance again for a year. I mean, there's only so many places in the country where you can shoot 4,000 yards.
And that happen to have the right conditions on that day that you're able to do it. So I feel like those records will probably stand for a little while just because they are so far, and you can't get the right conditions at the right location every time. It's just not always possible. So we'll see. I think it'll be exciting to be able to say that. I think it'd be even better to get him on far as well. He's impacted more rounds at 2 miles than I have, so this is my only claim to fame right now, is to have one a little bit farther.
There's another record called the Cold Bore World Record that Derek Love holds right now. We attempted that at this match also, and I missed it right off the side. So it's a 36-inch plate and 2,600 yards, something like that is the current record. I hit it 2, 3, 4 shots in a row, but
you have to hit it the first 3
1, 2,
shots.
3 in a row from
First
the very
shots
first
of the
shot
day,
of the day.
first 3
So
shots.
that's a tough ask of
That is
people,
tough.
but it's been progressing quite a lot.
There are lots of different types of records when it comes to these long distances, and they're all challenging. So we kind of kick ourselves sometimes when we miss. How we miss that? It's only 1.5 miles. But in reality,
Losing perspective is pretty easy.
Yeah,
on some
it's a
of these.
long way. So eventually we'll get more rounds, we'll get more impact, farther distances, the more we shoot, and the better equipment gets, the more precise equipment gets. I think right now, personally, I think that we're almost maxed out in how far we can shoot just based on what is available on the market right now. I don't think a 6,000 round impact is something that is repeatable. So some of those really long, crazy shots I hear about sometimes, I question, but it's definitely possible somehow. You shoot enough rounds downrange at a target, eventually you're gonna hit something. But to be in a match, in competition, under the clock with only a set number of rounds, and to still be hitting long-range targets, that's impressive.
If you guys want to follow us any farther, we have an Instagram page called KC Shooters. We started a long time ago. You can find us on there. And we try to keep up with what matches we're going to and our current records and a few of our processes we're doing. So you can follow us there, KC Shooters.
Athlon, ridiculously good optics.